Welcome back to Alpha Movie Reviews. Once again, we dive into the dark and murky waters of the Bert I. Film Library to fish out one of his dirtiest works yet. The Beginning of the End is another of those movies during the 1950s which preyed on the fears of the Cold War and on the atom bomb. In this tale, a nosy journalist goes looking for answers as to why all of the townspeople from a nearby village have vanished, as the entire town itself has been demolished as well. No one has any idea here as to what is going on. It seems that the perpetrators can't be caught or even seen. What could it possibly be? Oh, come on. Are you telling me that nobody, and I mean nobody, has ever managed to see those giant grasshoppers? The characters may as well have been blind. How is it that you can just completely miss giant insects running amok in the countryside?
What was that? I don't know.
And no one managed to hear that just slightly unconventional sound? I think that one of the biggest mistakes that Bert I. Gordon made is that he chose to use real-life grasshoppers while shooting the special effects. It would have been better if the story featured mutated insects. That way, the special effects team would have been able to use stop motion or animatronics. Because here, the effects are particularly terrible. It almost hurts the eyes sometimes. The contrast between the real-life insects and the scenery is rather alarming. One surprising thing is that the lead role was played by Peter Graves, who was most famous for playing Jim Phelps in the original Mission Impossible series, but he's far from being able to save this movie. He also plays a scientist who has been experimenting with radioactive material in order to produce much larger fruits and vegetables.
Chicago? Are you trying to tell me you bred these things? In a sense, I did, yes. Some locusts must have gotten into the lab, and they ate some of the plants or some of the radioactive plant food.
And it's extremely surprising how this guy takes very little responsibility for his involvement in this disaster. Well, I guess that our so-called hero has got a massive ego. And another problem here is that the film likes to complicate itself, and here's why.
Goodbye.
For some reason, the army decides to send soldiers to shoot blanks at the creatures. But then, this happens. Well, from what I just witnessed, the gas seems to be rather effective on the creatures, no? Why don't they just use that? I would also like to know how they managed to get a giant grasshopper into a cage inside a small room, which itself is situated in a giant skyscraper. That's one of the biggest movie mysteries ever. But that's not even the worst part, because then this happens. I thought that it was made explicitly clear that bullets couldn't kill those things. How is it that all of a sudden they work? It also kills me how the stock footage army starts shooting at the monsters before they can even see them. Like if that was gonna do any good. Do you want to know their special way of killing those creatures? Well, they lure them into the water after managing to get a high frequency pitch, which resembles the sound of those grasshoppers. And of course, we get an extremely half-assed ending. And that's all. But it's nothing that we haven't seen before. We've seen that in many different B movies. This movie also has the longest car sequence in the history of cinema. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Here it comes, and there it goes. Overall, this is a painful experience. A movie which is slower than a snail on its shell, but it's nothing that Awful Movie Reviews hasn't already seen. This is one of Bert I. Gordon's shittiest movies for sure. While it's not as bad as King Dinosaur, The Amazing Colossal Man is definitely the better movie over this one. Although that isn't a recommendation at all. Thank you for watching Awful Movie Reviews. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. What is your favorite Bert I. Gordon film? Let us know in the comments below.